Has anybody ever tried to rate a tornado?
And I would like to know why you can never get to the end of a rainbow.
What's the worst disaster in Iowa?
What are your top 3 movies that involve weather?
Welcome to Weathered Questions, where we answer the questions on your radar.
Welcome into Weathered Questions, everyone. We're so glad you're with us. This is a podcast where we answer the meteorology questions on your radar. My name is Jan Kaj, joined by my co-host Kai O'Mara, and we are still just kind of geeking out over weather with you, and we love doing it. Again, answering your questions that you have sent in through that weatheredquestions@gmail.com email. Be sure that you send in any more questions that you have. And thanks for listening, all of your feedback, and letting your friends and family know. We're headed into summer, so if you have a car ride ahead, be sure to get the podcast downloaded and let somebody else know so they can have it in the car as well. Today, one of the things that we're going to tackle, kind of a follow-up to episode 4.1, where we talked about a lot of questions that people ask us as former broadcast meteorologists about what's it really like to be a TV meteorologist. And we got a whole list of questions for that one, and still have a couple that we didn't quite get to. So we're going to tackle those today. And Kai, this first one is perfect for you. How early does the morning Met have to be there? That morning meteorologist, that shift that, you don't see us on TV until maybe 4:35, but how early do you actually have to be there?
It's a family-friendly show, so I'll keep it exactly that. The middle of the night. You have to be there in the middle of the night. So I can tell you exactly what my routine was for this shift. So I started on the weekends, but let's just talk about weekdays. So I did that for 13 years. So if you're one that wakes up in the morning, you're getting your coffee ready, you turn on the TV and you see that man or woman on there giving you the forecast, who has a suit on, or in your case, has a very nice dress on, has the hair done right. Guys sometimes have hair done right, depends on what hair you have. I was thankful to keep the hair really short, so it took all of 2 minutes to do that part. But
both are wearing makeup, men and women have to wear makeup.
Yep. And it's not like it's a lot for guys, but it's just enough because HDTV, it shows everything, regardless of whether you want it out there or not. So my alarm would go off between 1:45 and 2 in the morning. And then I would get in the station about 2:45, close to 3 o'clock on some days, but it's mainly 2:45 to 3. And the producers knew, even if I was 5 minutes late, that something was probably off the rails. Like they would call and check in and figure it out. I spent most of my time, a lot of our anchor teams were both a man and woman combined. Sometimes though it was 2 women anchors. And so what would happen is if there was a suspicious guy outside the station, they would sit in the parking garage and they'd wait for me to get there so that there was at least somebody, because there are some creepy people that roam the streets at 2:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And especially on a Thursday night into Friday morning. Or goodness, especially New Year's Eve. That is a horrible night to work the morning shift. And if you probably ask anybody in law enforcement, they'll tell you the exact same thing. But
St. Pat's also,
St. Pat's,
the 18th of March. That's an interesting morning to work.
But I mean, if you don't roll in by 3 a.m., you're already behind. So I'd say that's very appropriate for when I would come in. When others would come in, they'd usually come in earlier. If you accidentally drew the short stick and nobody was around and you had to do a morning, what time were you in?
That honestly follows pretty close to what I did. My alarm would go off about 1:30, 1:45, do my hair quick, before I got into work, and then just book it in and, get there right about 2:45 probably. So just those few extra minutes, but I was very much a creature of habit. I knew exactly what I needed to do in the morning, and I would do, knowing usually that I would be working that next morning. Very rarely did I get called in last minute. So I would try to get some of my graphics ready the day before, get some of the groundwork done. Obviously, forecast changes and you have to do some minor adjustments, but try to get the bulk of the stuff done. And I generally knew what story I would be telling through the graphics. But if, like you said, if something changed, if something happened, if I got caught in a conversation somewhere that I wasn't expecting, I was behind the 8 ball the rest of the morning because it is very tight. You're crammed for time, but you also, because you're coming in the middle of the night, don't want to have to come in 15, 20, half an hour earlier because you'd rather have sleep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. It's a rough shift to do. A lot of times we get feedback that says, yeah, but you got your whole afternoon in front of you. Well, that's true. Except noon to somebody who works that shift is the equivalent of 5 o'clock to somebody who works an 8 to 5. And your body's already been through it quite a bit. And so you're actually quite tired at the end of all that.
Because when were you going to bed?
6:30, 6:45.
Yep.
Yeah. So it takes a toll. And, you know, there were times too that you just get towards the end of the week and it was just tired, tired. And it was just a fog and all that kind of stuff. But there's nobody there to do the stuff for you. There's nobody there to produce a graphic for you. Nobody's in there dressing you. Nobody's in there putting your makeup on or doing your hair. That's all you. And now with the addition of more streaming components and more social media stuff, I would always just work through my break and just eat right there, right in front of the computer and go. I didn't have time.
Don't know that I ever took a true break in
probably not
my time on TV.
Probably not. I mean, that's the benefit and the double-edged sword of salary, because a lot of TV folks are paid salary for good reason, because the news stations know it. They know they're working 55, 65 hours a week. And if they had to pay them hourly, they'd break the bank.
Absolutely.
So it's usually a salaried position wherever you find them.
Yep. And I think the best thing that I can compare it to for people who have been on maybe an international trip or something, if you've had that jet lag where you kind of slept maybe on the flight a little bit because you were told to do that, or it was supposed to be the nighttime there. And so you did that, you kind of slept, but you really didn't sleep well. You're kind of up and, a little bit every couple hours. And then you get there and you try to hit the ground running and you try to do stuff, but you're never really fully recovering and really getting that sleep back. And some people say, well, if you're, for me, right, filling in for a week or two, well, you've done it for so long. Or Kai, for you doing it 16 years, well, you've done it for so long. Well, but the rest of the world doesn't operate on that schedule. And so you really just never truly do get used to it. Your body naturally, that circadian rhythm just never truly adjusts. And it really is grueling. And that's why you don't see very many older morning mets. There's kind of an age limit where your body can't do it anymore.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to put yourself through it. Once you get past, especially the 40 threshold, when you start getting, more markings and stuff and blood work flags and all this other stuff that starts to pop up because you haven't been sleeping enough or you've been eating too late at night or too early in the morning in that case. So there's definitely some challenges to it. So here's another one. Let's expand on that. So if we have meteorology and we're doing things in the broadcast and television spectrum, what to you, Jan, was the most important non-science class to do that job?
So I have a journalism minor. And so I took several classes that kind of led toward, that storytelling aspect. And I think any of those true journalism classes were good, because a lot of people, what they don't understand is if you're getting a degree in meteorology and you're going to be a broadcast meteorologist, a lot, at least for Iowa State, for a Research One university like Iowa State, where both Kai and I graduated from, but where several other broadcast Mets go, other Research One universities, you're not learning how to be a TV meteorologist. You're learning how to forecast weather. You're learning how to read maps and read models and things like that. So those classes that taught me how to share a complex scientific concept and how to break that down in different ways, those would be ones that I think were probably super important. I'm thinking through that one a little bit more, trying to think through if I have a different or a better answer than that. But for right now, that's what I'm going with. Do you have an answer?
I have an answer, but the cool part is the fact that this show has two hosts in it, because my answer is going to be different.
Yeah.
I took journalism and mass communication 101 in college, and I thought it was one of the worst classes I've ever sat through. I learned nothing, absolutely nothing, zero. And I never pursued any further classes. The class I thought that was best to do that job was Speech 212.
Oh, yeah.
I remember it. And for me, it was different because I took it during the summer. And so what they did is they crammed it into 4 weeks, 3 hours a day. And you know what you were doing? You're talking.
Yep.
There wasn't a whole lot of writing going on. You were talking. And then at the end of the week on Fridays, I remember this, you'd have to present in front of the class, whatever your speech was. And you did that for 3 straight weeks. And then your final week, you had a final. That was it. And that's how we did it. But learning to speak in front of people is a trait that a lot of jobs, I think today, it'd be good for you to have that skill. Communication skills in general. I've known a lot of folks now. I just talked to one today as we're recording this program that had not called somebody back and was insistent on texting and insistent on email and just would not pick up the phone and call them. And my advice was, call them. Come on, pick up the phone and give them a call. That's all we had, 15 years ago. Much less.
Is this person in their 30s, Kai?
I don't know.
Oh, because I feel like
honestly
that is a very millennial thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think if you're really talking about work or other things and trying to just get down to earth and know somebody, I think the phone's probably the best way to get the job done.
Yeah.
And so I think Speech 212 was the class that I did. Now, I opted to go away from a journalism minor. For those wondering, by the way, if you just take the core meteorology courses, you're 2 courses away, unless they've changed the program, you're 2 courses away from a math minor.
It's 3 now, I think.
Is it 3? So
Yes.
You're very close to a math
Yes.
minor as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I opted to take intro to rock and roll. That was a 300 level class. I took music appreciation.
Oh, that's a great class. Any future Iowa Staters take music appreciation.
And it's harder than you think. It's a harder class
though.
than you think. I remember history of rock and roll. We had a Beatles week and we had a Stones week, which was cool. And then I also took intro to housing because I figured someday I'd own a house. And I just went away from the minor because that 101 course steered me so far off the tracks that I thought, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
But the other thing about this job, it's not even just the courses. It's just practicing. Practice. That's what you have to do. Practice. Our old chief meteorologist, Jan, he would tell us stories when he was working in Madison, where he would open up the weather section of the newspaper and he'd be driving home. And he'd set it off next to his dash. And as he's driving, he'd glance at the weather map and just talk. And he'd do it all the way home.
Yep.
3 hours to his hometown. And he'd just talk and just practice talking. And you don't need to pay for college credits for that. That's something you do on your own. So just learning to speak and learning to speak well is a big trait for that job.
Yeah. One of the best bits of advice I got in college in training was grab a hairbrush, talk to it like it's your microphone. And again, read a book, read the newspaper, read something and just talk and figure out how that inflection works and how you can start to ad lib things, especially if you're doing the newspaper and interpreting a picture into words, right?
Right.
Because that's another thing that, again, a lot of people don't realize about broadcast meds. We are not reading from a script. We are not reading from a teleprompter like the anchors are. They're preparing scripts throughout the day and figuring out how to word things just so. And as meteorologists, we're forecasting. We're looking at models. We're saying, okay, here's the forecast that I think is going to happen. We make graphics to go along with that, and then we just get up on air and talk.
That's it.
We just
you got it.
Fill the time with what we have to say about our maps. And if we get told, hey, you have 30 less seconds, then we got to go a little faster. And if we get told, hey, we lost a live shot, I need you to fill an extra 2 minutes, then that's what we do. And we just talk.
Go and go and go, man. Go and go and go. So I have a feeling we're going to have very similar answers on this next one. But what was the first time on TV like for you? Very first time.
First time, I think very nerve-wracking in terms of just kind of that, like, your dream that you've worked for so long is finally coming to reality, that you're a little scared. But I think very quickly I got over that. I think the fact that I was just kind of alone with a camera, and this is, I say this a lot, like, I was fairly comfortable with that because I had done that for a while, in practice. But when my first time, like, giving a school talk with a live audience, with people staring back at me and being able to ask me real questions in real time, even more nerve-wracking. So as nerve-wracking as that first time on TV was, I'm just talking to a camera. Mentally, I do realize, but that I'm talking to a couple thousand people because it's just a camera. Whereas if you have 30 second graders in front of you that are staring at you, waiting for answers, it's a little more intimidating. That's my answer.
Yep. I agree with that. It's amazing how, if you go into like a graduation hall, or if you go into a large assembly where you've got several hundred people, and all of a sudden now you got to present to these people. All right, now they're all in front of you. You can see them all. Whereas in the camera, there's nobody there. Nobody there. I remember everything being really tight. Neck was tight. Throat was tight.
Wow.
Voice was a little higher.
Yeah.
Because it was not as relaxed. So everything was really tight. And then I could not get a good breath in.
Yeah.
Mispronounced a couple of towns. I remember it being up in Mankato, Minnesota. I said sleeping eye instead of sleepy eye.
Oh.
I remember that a couple different times. There were some counties that I messed up. And that was difficult. Now, that was back without a wireless microphone system or without a wireless communication system. So you had cables hanging out of you in all different directions. You got to make sure you don't step on those. And then you get out there and you start talking about stuff. Very first time, it's very odd. But every time after that gets easier. And that's why I think you see folks in the morning improve so much faster over time, because you get 30 chances in any given morning because you have a hit every 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And whereas at night you get three per show, and that's it. Morning show gets a whole lot more. So even though the hours are terrible, one could argue actually terrible hours on both sides, but the morning is especially rough, but you get so much better so quickly. So that's a good positive on that one.
Any of those first time jobs, so many of them these days, station, trying to save a little money, is putting their weekend met at 2 days a week doing weather, who studies weather, studied meteorology in college and wants to do weather, 2 days a week doing weather on the weekends, and then 3 days a week doing reporting. And it's a wonder why it takes them so long to become really comfortable with what they're doing. It's because they're not able to do what they want to do and what they are trained to do only 2/5 of the time.
Yeah. So. And you don't get better at either craft by doing that. You're not going to become a better reporter either.
Correct.
By having to do both of them and then trying to learn both of them at the exact same time. Yep. It's just kind of a cheapening of the skill sets.
Segues us perfectly, Kai, into the last question that we have on this kind of pull back the curtain style show. Sure. Drawbacks. What are some drawbacks of being a TV meteorologist? We've as you've been talking, I've been thinking through, because I knew this question was coming. I'm like, oh, that's something that we could mention. As a female, all those microphone cords, that is a pain to figure out. Let me tell you.
Yeah. There were some times, I'll tell you what, for the guys listening here, we have it so easy. There's nothing to worry about. You stick the microphone in between the shirt button and everything's fine.
You have a waistline that you can attach it to.
If we had two women in the studio and Jan was in the studio, sometimes I'd have to turn my back, or I'd have to go to a different part of the studio because I knew what was going on. I'm like, yep, you guys are figuring the equipment out. I got you. I got to get out of your way. That's a big one of those not fair things. Because for guys, it's so much easier.
Well, and so in the style of pulling back the curtain and letting everyone know, we have basically like a garter band that we would either put around our thigh or our ankle or something, so that there was something to attach those mic boxes to, because they're just a little battery pack basically that has a clip on it, and so the guys would just clip it to their belt, their waistband, sometimes even throw it in their suit jacket pocket. Lots of options. Females, we don't have those options because we're wearing dresses most of the time. So we don't have a waistband. You don't have pockets that you can put it on. So yeah, we're attaching it to that like garter basically, and trying to, string it through the dress and making everything look and lay right again. And it's just a whole ordeal. And some people, you even like will see them put them on their ankles, so they don't have to deal with that. And then you get emails asking you if you're on house arrest, which is a whole other thing.
Right. Well, yeah, that is a big thing where it's just like, sometimes people like, you don't need to know. You don't need to know. So don't ask.
No.
Like, I had every time one of my anchors would get pregnant, I would get messages from guys. And it's like, hey, I don't want to offend anyone, but she's getting really fat. Can you tell her? Like, no, I'm not going to say anything about that. You jerk. Like, yes. Just stop. It's not, you'll find out about 3 months what's going on.
Yep.
But for right now, you don't need to know.
Yep. Or the people, that's a big drawback, right? The people that email about what you're wearing, or, that color doesn't look good on you, that hairstyle doesn't look good on you, right. That, that makeup doesn't, whatever it is, everybody has an opinion.
Advice.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing about all this, I found this out doing some referee work too. Some people would say, what could be a drawback of being a Met? Well, I love weather a lot. A lot of people who are meteorologists love weather a lot. And what will happen is there are times that we get involved. A lot of people didn't get into weather because it was sunny and 70. A lot of people got into weather because something either happened to them or they saw some extreme weather come through. The issue is when you work in this industry, you have to cover a severe threat from every single day that it's issued all the way until it may or may not happen. So you've got the preview, you've got the actual event where the wind's strong enough that I thought, was the hail large enough that I thought it would be? What if it goes the other way? And then you got the aftermath of it, which is almost always a mad audience, even if you're exactly right. And it wears on you over time. And all of a sudden you go, I don't even get to enjoy weather anymore.
Yeah.
People are either oversensitive, need something to do, or don't grasp what weather is capable of. And you wind up getting all that feedback just shoved right at you. And it's like, man, I can't do a thing right, can I?
It's exhausting.
Like I told you it was going to rain. It rained and you're still ticked. Like, I don't know what you want from me. It was a lot like when the Iowa Hawkeyes had their perfect football season. I believe that was back in 2015 for football. And people were still complaining, well, they didn't win by enough.
Yeah.
Okay, you go 12-0 in college football.
You can never please everyone.
You go 12-0 in college football, that's the best you can do. I don't care if you won every game by a point. It's a perfect record.
You still did it.
It's like we'll sit here like, well, the winds were 57 miles an hour. Yeah, they should have been 65. No, they shouldn't.
Or when you say, hey, there's going to be tornadoes and it hits a town and impacts lives and people are mad. Yeah. And you never want to see that as a meteorologist. We're never wishing that on anyone, but it's our job to make sure that everybody knows what the threat is and that it's possible. And then when it happens, you're somehow the bad guy for being correct.
Yes.
Even though
I
you
also
have no
think
control over it.
One of the drawbacks in the industry is it does not take a day off.
Oh, no.
Lawyers can shut off. Schools can shut down. Businesses can close. In fact, most businesses do close. Almost every business out there has their hours posted on their front door. Now, granted, you talk to any business owner, they still may be doing some work at the house. But the bottom line is the weather does not stop for anyone. Sunshine, darkness, if there are storms overnight, there needs to be a body covering it. And that might be you. And that might be a situation where you've got an important concert that night for your kids. It don't matter. You're gone now. So you're going to miss that life event to cover a storm. So you have to be ready for that. And that's not just in broadcast. That's in the National Weather Service too. You may get ramped up for that. Yeah. So that's one drawback. The pay has not improved as much as it should.
No.
Either. So that's another thing to consider. But again, if you like it and you want to spend a few years at it, you might enjoy it. That's where I'd probably leave you right now.
And similar to like you kind of started earlier, right? Like people aren't getting into the business for the pay, right?
Can't be, because
you're getting into it because
let me steer you away from that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It may be you may be a scientist, but you are in a journalist world, in a salesperson's world. Your expertise as a scientist, your background as a scientist, as much as it is respected in the newsroom, I would very much say we were both very, very well respected. But you're not paid a scientist's salary because you are in a journalism world.
Yep.
So just one of the harsh truths of it.
Yep, I agree with that for sure. But there's still a need out there. The weather's not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just be prepared if you go into this field. Go back and download 4.1 if you're sitting in the car right now on a family trip, and then listen to this one. And the curtain's been fully open now for about 50 minutes of just kind of an inside look at what the TV world is like. And I would argue that if most broadcasters heard this, they'd probably agree with most of it. Some might disagree with some, but I think we opened it up pretty well without giving any of the, huge things away.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different. That's the thing, is there is no pay scale for broadcast, and people get really frustrated by that. It's true. It depends what city you're in, depends what shift you're on, depends on the station's health. You might go to a really poor station that's almost bankrupt.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
So there's a whole bunch of things like that we've got to deal with. But again, go back, grab 4.1. We got 4.11 right now, and we are about to wrap things up. We're 26 minutes into this episode. We hope you've learned something about the broadcast industry. The reason why we opened the curtain on broadcast is because we both worked in it. Mm-hmm. It's tough to open the curtain on other branches of meteorology because we have not been there before. But we encourage you to submit your questions to us. We do want to know what's on your radar always. You can email us your questions to weatheredquestions@gmail.com to join in on the conversation. Until next time, stay safe out there.